You know, farming's a lot of hard work in real life, months of waiting just to yield a single crop. Luckily for me, games like Stardew Valley provide all the dopamine of yanking a purple star potato out of the ground without any of the work or time needed to do so. Also, I can simply pop the tuber into a box and be immediately compensated for doing so. I mean, 160 golden doubloons for a single potato? That's pretty crazy. It really makes you think, how much are these farmers actually making? Like, if you were a farmer in the game, how many real-world dollars would you actually take home? I think I'm going to try and answer just this. Before this though, we're going to need to set some ground rules. First, since each item in the game has 4 different qualities, regular, silver, gold, and iridium, we're going to say that the cost of each item is equal to the average gold value across all qualities. Second, some items like blueberries appear as though you're only selling one of them, which isn't really feasible nor realistic. So for these we're going to say that the gold value is equal to the smallest amount of each item that is purchasable. This also makes sense because I don't think you're really going to harvest just one blueberry from this blueberry bush. Alright, I know you technically harvest more than one blueberry from this bush at a time, but you sell them piecemeal, so it still really doesn't make much sense. Who's buying just one blueberry? In any case, now we can compare the cost of crops and other goods in Stardew Valley to those in the real world. With the rules out of the way, the only thing we have to do now is gather some pricing data, and what better place to do that than a local farmer's market? So I took some time and walked around the market, looked at some tasty produce, spoke to some farmers, and took note of what they were selling and for how much. Now, after I went to the market for research purposes, I compiled the list of all the items I recorded and their pricing data. For some of the items I was able to get multiple pricing data, so for these I averaged their cost. From here it was pretty simple to divide the gold costs of each of the crops by their cost in USD to get how much gold was equal to $1 for each item. I was able to determine that for normal crops, $1 is equal to 20.6 gold, silver crops sell for 1.25 times as much, or $1 being 25.9 gold. Gold crops sell for 1.5 times as much, or $1 being 31.2 gold, and iridium crops sell for 2 times as much, or $1 being 41.9 gold. Last but not least, I simply averaged all the gold to dollar ratios and reached a final value of $1 being 30 gold. But it actually isn't just that simple. You see, there are multiple professions in the game that can actually boost the amount of gold that you get, these being tiller, rancher, and artisan. These boost the selling price of crops and other commodities by a whopping 10, 20, and 40% each. If you assume that real-world farmers hold these professions, and I would because this is some pretty good cheese, then these virtual farmers are suddenly making a lot more gold. Unfortunately for them, however, this also means that the purchasing power of Stardew Valley gold goes down when compared to USD. This is because the crops and other goods are still being sold for the same amount in the real world. For this reason, 1 gold is actually worth less and less the more you become a better farmer. If we then average the gold values across all professions, we get that $1 is equal to 37 gold. Now that we understand how much gold is worth in the game, determining how much money you would make is a more difficult and ambiguous question. There are an almost infinite number of variables at play. Are you farming cauliflower or are you farming kale? Do you have the correct professions? How efficiently are you spending your day? Have you sold your soul to the capitalist overlord that is the Jojo Corporation? The list goes on and on. Now, I could play through Stardew Valley and see how much money I'm able to make in a given year, but I'm not really the best virtual farmer, and this would only be one data point. So I decided to outsource this task to the most reliable source of information on the internet, Redditors. I posted the question recently and got very conflicting responses. I received answers as low as 30,000 gold for casual players, and upwards of 10 million gold for those that are min-maxing their first year. Given that the answers were so varied, I'm going to say that the average Stardew Valley farmer makes somewhere around 100,000 gold a year. Now that we have how much the in-game currency is worth in USD, as well as how much the average farmer would make, we can determine how much the average farmer would earn in US dollars. If we assume that you're earning around 100,000 gold, and to do so using all the correct professions, that would mean you earn a whopping $2,702.70. And well, that's pretty tragic. Even if we bump the earnings by a factor of 10, you're still only earning $27,000, which is better, but still not great. This is especially bad considering that some more casual gamers are only earning 30,000 gold in their first year, which is only around $810. For a year's worth of manual work and hard labor, you'd hope to be earning a lot more than that. However, let's assume the best case scenario, 10 million gold earned with no professions used and only selling crops of the lowest rarity. Suddenly the earnings become a lot more appealing, with a final gross payout of around $385,000. Now that's definitely a great take-home pay, but let's remember it's an outlier for literally the best case scenario that we could come up with. It also means that to be a millionaire, you'd have to earn 37 million gold annually in the game. I think I'm starting to realize that none of this makes any actual sense either. Let's take a look at the cost of some of the other goods and services in the game. For example, the grain silo costs 100 gold to build. I mean, are you really trying to tell me that a grain silo costs as much as a silver star potato? $3? Really? I mean, I know the grain silo has some other building materials required, but I think Robin should be more fairly compensated for her work. Also, speaking of paying fairly for employment, the wages that the Joja Corp are offering are fairly ridiculous. I mean, Mr. Morris is offering a laughable 5 gold per hour as a starting wage at the Joja Mart. This means you'd be earning just under 14 cents per hour if you decide to work there. It also means that if you wanted to buy some potato seeds, you'd have to work for over 10 hours, or over 12 hours if you buy them from your place of employment. That's right, it actually costs more to buy the seeds at Joja Mart than it does to buy them at Pierre's, and I know Mr. Morris is not handing out any employee discounts. Now I could jump through even more hoops, determine the cost of building an actual grain silo and compare that to the in-game cost, and from there determine a more accurate representation of the Stardew Valley gold worth, but I think that would just throw everything off. I think it's just fair to assume that the Stardew Valley gold doesn't really make much sense at all. If anything, we can say that 37 gold equating to $1 is at least a good representation of the crops and other farmed goods. With that though, that's about the best I could do for determining how much the Stardew Valley currency is worth. If you would have done anything differently, let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!